Oh, baby. You didn't die and go to heaven. You're just on the Clark the Shark Show, 1-800-449-8255. And I'm about to review one of the greatest albums ever recorded. Certainly one of the greatest out of the South Bay, Redondo Beach, Torrance, Lomita, Hermosa Beach. You know the album, baby. A Noise Agency, Mom's in the Kitchen. Now, back in 1985, I was hanging out with my good buddy Carl in Torrance. He lived over on Zacon or Zacon, kind of near South High. And he's like, "Hey, Clark, you gotta check this out." I'm all, "What is it, bro?" He's all, "Well, it's this band. They remind me of you." And I'm all, what? They remind me of you, what? He's all, "Yeah, it's called a Noise Agency." And of course, Carl and this other guy, I forget this guy's name, but it was a guy just like me who collected albums, and he was always going to the Rhodium. Now, I used to ride my bike all the way from 251 Paseo de Gracia out to the Rhodium to buy vinyls. And this guy was like telling me of all the weird vinyls, and this guy was like me. I don't even remember this guy's name, but he was into everything. Heavy metal, punk rock, underground rock, psychedelic rock, Captain Beefheart, Frank Zappa, Captain Beyond. We were both like these eclectic brains. And of course, Carl, he was just my bro from South High, who I'd known. Yeah, I went to Scrock, and I was always hanging out with my good buddy Carl. And dude, his sister was hot. I used to go to the house just to check out his sister, man. And I got obsessed or something. Clark the Shark, I'm genius. When, it's like my obsession. Dude. It was the 80s, baby. But I became super obsessed with Mom's in the Kitchen. And this band, this three-piece incredible band, A Noise Agency. And I would sit downstairs at 251 Paseo de Gracia, and I would play this album over and over. And I would play the whole album. And, of course, it's kind of like a tribute to Black Flag and the Minutemen, and, it's typical punk rock. But no, this is very melodic. The drummer was really exceptional. He played like marching snare, where he studied that really disciplined marching snare where your hands can only be like no more than 3 inches off the snare. No Keith Moon allowed. The disciplined snare, 2 or 3 inches up off the snare drum, that's it. Marching snare, and his kick drum was really tight. Kind of reminded me a little of DJ Bonebreak from X, but even better than him. This drummer of A Noise Agency on Mom's in the Kitchen. Now, all over the South Bay today, everyone knows, from Hermosa Beach to Manhattan Beach to Long Beach to Gardena to Palos Verdes to San Pedro, we all love this album, and we all worship these three guys. And of course, later on, Clark the Shark, I not only worshipped this band, I wanted to literally become this band. And the blonde-haired guy on lead vocals in this three-piece, he was a really good guitar player. He played like clean guitar. He did a little bit of distortion, but he mainly played like this clean. I saw these guys live like 3 times, and they were incredible. And he played this clean, like a Fender clean sound. He did a little bit of distortion, but it was a really loud, clean guitar, but it was really angry, really snarling. And every one of these melodic songs on here, Hang That Monkey is really killer. But the whole album, I just became obsessed with A Noise Agency, Moms in the Kitchen, and I wanted to get in bands. I was already in some bands. But when I heard this album, I wanted badly to be in a three-piece band only. Like the James Gang, like Rush, like Triumph, like Cream, but like the Minutemen and Baby, like A Noise Agency, Moms in the Kitchen. These guys were incredible. They were tight. All three of them were polished, incredible musicians. And I'll never forget, I tried so hard to hang out with these guys. The drummer was really cool, but this guitar singer guy was just looking at me like, get the fuck away from me, Clark the Shark. I mean, he was really standoffish. And then after a while, he'd be like, all right, I accept you, bro. But it took a while. The guy was really a dark, mystical genius. And just all three of them, they were these interesting genius guys. And the whole South Bay, all the punk bands, everybody, we worshipped A Noise Agency in town. And these guys would play gigs from Hermosa Beach to Lomita to Long Beach, Los Angeles, all over the place. And back in the day, this album, Moms in the Kitchen, was legendary. Because even now, a lot of people around the South Bay and Los Angeles, they say, these guys invented grunge. This guy, this three-piece band, is like the original Nirvana, way before them. And they're really the original GE, Greenhouse Effect, because I ripped off everything these guys did, and I carefully analyzed and scrutinized and dissected everything about A Noise Agency, Moms in the Kitchen. This songwriting spoke to me. These drums, this clean guitar, and this guy's amazing lead vocals, and the way these guys played so great live, it spoke to all of us in the South Bay. And, man, I just love them. I love this. And I carefully put together the Greenhouse Effect, with Phil Keegan at first. And I said, you know what, this isn't enough like A Noise Agency. And of course, Phil and me and Ted would go separate ways. 1990, we're getting a little too metal with Virus Osiris and coke snorting. And I'm like, man, I want to get back to the roots. I want to get back to the beginnings. Ben is Dead and Star and these songs that are just influenced by A Noise Agency, Moms in the Kitchen at 1-800-449-8255, The Clark the Shark Show. And this cover with this guy, like your dad, he's watching TV and just some confused kid is just, there's a light on, and then Mom's in the kitchen. I love it. You talk to any punk rocker or anybody into alternative or indie in Los Angeles, but anywhere around the world, around the United States, and they look to Moms in the Kitchen by A Noise Agency just as much as they look to Black Flag or the Minutemen. Because these guys have a real originality here. This three-piece band, A Noise Agency, is original, creating atmosphere, creating an angry, confused, vicious little punk band, but it's a melodic, up-tempo, atmospheric rock and roll band. And they made one of the greatest albums of all time. In my humble opinion, Clark the Shark at 1-800-449-8255, I had to copy everything these guys did. And when the Greenhouse Effect put out Going Legit and Ben is Dead and all those songs in 1991, I think the record labels looked at me, Clark the Shark, and they said, we're going to sign bands like Clark the Shark of the Greenhouse Effect. And just these weirdos, that look like Rick Carmody with the red hair, Ted on bass and me. We just dressed normal. We're just regular guys wearing T-shirts, like we just got out of 7-Eleven or a gas station. And there were other bands like that, of course. But we were trying to take it big time. The Greenhouse Effect, we had our sights set on playing the Forum or like playing Dodger Stadium. It wasn't about playing Wilson Park in Torrance or, the Anti Club or, Hong Kong Cafe or, you know, Madame Wong's or all that shit. It wasn't about that forever. I wanted to go big time with GE and be the biggest rock star in the world with my little three-piece band that I pretty much learned from a noise agency, Moms in the Kitchen. But me, Clark the Shark, I'm a genius and I'm a manipulator. And, manipulation, baby, is what I do. And hiding in the shadows, being this little electronic thing that exists only on the wind, but everybody knows about it. And it's out there, baby. It's Clark the Shark at 1-800-449-8255 from the fabulous golden EIB Sharkerphone, telling you about a noise agency, Moms in the Kitchen. I want you all to go buy this album and support this amazing band. It's an underground band, but everybody in the South Bay, Redondo Beach, Torrance, Hermosa Beach, we know this band and we love this band. And this band means so much to us. They're just cutting edge inventors, originators, creators, these guys. Do they copy the Minutemen? Sort of, but not really. They're original. They mix in the Who. They really mix in the Who and the Minutemen and Black Flag and, everything. They're a three-piece band, you guys. There's a little bit of the James Gang and Cream and just everything, man. And I talked to the guy. I'm like, dude, do you like Rush? He's like, yeah, but don't tell anybody, man. Like, they're just cool, funny guys and weirdos like that, They're just guys like me. I was from Torrance. They were from Lomita or whatever, Long Beach, or I don't even know where they're from, San Pedro. But I fucking love them, dude. I love a noise agency, Moms in the Kitchen. Great album. And it was a watershed. This album was breakthrough shit when it came out. And we all listened to this in the South Bay, and we all wanted to be this. All the three-piece bands, we wanted to be a noise agency, Moms in the Kitchen, just as badly as we wanted to be like D. Boone or, the Minutemen and all that. We loved this band, and I took it too far. I wanted to copy this band, and in Greenhouse Effect, the Going Legit phase, 1991 and 92, I become this lead singer of a noise agency. And one time, this guy actually confronted me somewhere. And he's like, dude, you're trying to be me. And I was like, you know what, bro? You're absolutely right, because I fucking love you. And I love your band, dude. I love a noise agency, Moms in the Kitchen. Incredible album, incredible band from the South Bay. Man, Los Angeles. An important album for our whole county, for our whole city. It's a noise agency, Moms in the Kitchen. Breakthrough, watershed moment. The invention of grunge. Years before Seattle. Years before the Greenhouse Effect. Before me, Clark the Shark, was this guy. Right there, really, with the Minutemen. The Minutemen are before him, but he's copying them. Yeah, but he's inventing, he's creating something brand new. It's watershed shit, man. Breakthrough shit all the way. I love this album. Every song on it is up-tempo, kick-ass punk rock. It's angry, it's confused, it's depressed. It's got just as much atmospheric depression as anything, dude. Black Flag, Minutemen, Joy Division, anything. It's got just as much technical guitar and technical drums as anything, as U2 or Television or The Who or anybody, man. And I became obsessed with a noise agency, Moms in the Kitchen. I became obsessed with this guy who, this incredible album. You gotta buy this album, you guys, and listen to this whole album. You do, because it is, it's amazing. It's an amazing album. The songs are so catchy and melodic and atmospheric. Great songwriting. Really great. It was inventive. It was creative. It was something new in 1985 around the South Bay. And it spoke to all of us. This album spoke. We would buy this at record stores, man, around town. Or we would, we'd go meet the guy and sit down. And people wanted to just sit down and hang out with these guys because, you know, we could tell they were our town and they were important people in town. And everyone from Pennywise to Black Flag to, all the bands around Redondo and, Instigator and me, Greenhouse Effect and Das Clown and Guttermouth and everybody, Ghetto Scheist, all the bands around California that would come play Wilson Park in Torrance. We looked up to a noise agency, Moms in the Kitchen, just as much as Black Flag, just as much as the Minutemen, just as much as Joy Division and Ian Curtis. This guy was depressing, man. This blonde-haired singer, he had this own little image where he was this crazy little misfit. He was a crazy little guy who was really weird when you talked to him. But he was the guy that I, Clark the Shark, patterned myself after. I couldn't pattern myself after Greg Ginn because he's too weird, man. Greg Ginn is just out there. And, D. Boone or Ed from Ohio or any of those guys or, Mr. Brett, those guys got their own thing. But this guy was the closest thing. This lead singer guy, I don't even remember his name. But he was like Ian Curtis to me in the South Bay. He was like this confused little guy way before Kurt Cobain. He was Kurt Cobain in the South Bay, you guys. He invented Kurt Cobain. This band did. They were way before. And I wanted to be like this guy in a noise agency. I wanted to write confused, fucked up songs that were just insane. It didn't make any sense and were just narcissist, nihilist, like nonsense. And I learned it from this band. This guy was just so confused and so angry and so spontaneous. This band was like, they were tight and they were calculated and thought out, and yet they were spontaneity. They just exploded with a rage of passionate melody, atmosphere, and grungy noise. They were beautiful, joyous noise. And I thank God above, I thank the Lord that I found a noise agency, this album in 1985-86. And I love to listen to this. And, I turned Mike O'Brien and other guys onto this album. And I said, you guys got to check this out. And they loved it. We all loved it in the South Bay. And to us, our city is so important. Redondo Beach, I consider Redondo Beach the punk rock mecca of the United States. I really do, because all these people from Ohio and Missouri and Minnesota and, Pennsylvania and all these places, the Dakotas, they all traveled out to Torrance and Redondo Beach back in the 50s, back in the 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s. And that's how punk rock was formed. All these confused, depressed Midwesterners and people from all over the United States and Europe, they all came to Redondo Beach, Torrance, Hermosa Beach, and they just turned into fucking white trash, drunken marijuana losers, just pieces of shit, like Clark the Shark at 1-800-449-8255, where we all just settled down and we would listen to great music like a noise agency, Moms in the Kitchen, and great psychedelia, punk rock, punkabilly, rockabilly, country, blues, the Hermosa Beach blues scene. Love it or hate it, man. It's important. I was a big part of playing drums in the Hermosa Saloon. So many gigs. I must have played the Hermosa Saloon 1,000 times with all these different bands. And just looking back on the memories of playing all these shows all over the South Bay, Wilson Park, the Hermosa Saloon, I learned it all from a noise agency, Moms in the Kitchen, just as much as I learned it from Greg Ginn and Black Flag and Des Cadena and Henry Rollins and, just all the guys, Chavo. I learned it just as much from this band because these guys were professional, they were pro, they were tight, and they were important. Moms in the Kitchen, a noise agency, just a great punk rock band, but they're not punk. They're important, great, melodic, atmospheric garage music that isn't garage. This isn't for Little Steven. This is pro pop music that could have been huge. I'm not kidding you guys. This album could have sold 8 million copies. If these guys would have been on a major label in rock and roll in 1985, they would have revolutionized the whole entire planet. There would never have been a Nirvana. There would never have been a Seattle. And there would never have been me, Clark the Shark, at 1-800-449-8255 on the fabulous Clark the Shark Show from the golden EIB Sharkerphone. It's not a microphone, baby. It's a Sharkerphone, because I'm telling you right now about one of the most important albums to ever come out of the South Bay. And that's a noise agency, Moms in the Kitchen. Incredible. It's right there with the Minutemen. And I don't think SST wanted these guys or any of those labels like Cruise Records or any of them. These guys were forced to form their own label, Nat Breath Records. And I'm pretty sure that's what happened. And I remember giving this guy my tapes, and he was like, I'm over it, dude. Yeah, I'm over it. And I was like, dude, don't stop. Please keep playing, bro. You guys in a noise agency mean a lot to me. And he would just be like, he would just snicker and be like, nah, forget it. And I think he just went on to become a regular Joe in society, you know, working in a factory or working somewhere. Just, that's a damn shame. Him and this drummer and the bass player guy of this band, they were incredible guys. And once you got to know them and got to sit down with them and talk to them, they were all great guys. And I'll never forget the drummer's girlfriend, wife. She was just a funny lady. You know, we were all just hanging out at shows, and it was a fun time back in the 80s going to shows. I went to so many shows, but I did not go to a better show than a noise agency, Moms in the Kitchen. Ah, great, great shows they played. And we all loved them in the South Bay. And I want you to go order this album and buy this album, you guys. Whoever is listening to me right now, Clark the Shark, from the fabulous golden EIB Sharkerphone, I hope you buy a noise agency, Moms in the Kitchen. I hope you order this album because it is incredible, you guys. And I love this album. And I love this guy. Hang That Monkey, man. All of these songs. It's not just that one song. It's the whole, you know, it's like, think how long you're gonna be dead. You know, do you remember how easy it was to have fun? Think back, you guys, when you were a little kid and how easy it was to have fun. Because when we get old, man, it's gloom and doom. And it's hard to have fun. You got to remember it. How easy it was way back in the day when you were younger. And you listened to a noise agency, Moms in the Kitchen. Awesome, atmospheric, melodic songwriting, punk rock, up-tempo, upbeat, great shit, yet depressing. A real downer, man, yet amazing. Buy this album, you guys. Clark the Shark, 1-800-449-8255, CLAHAGIN at AOL.com. Email me and I will help you buy this album. I want you to buy a noise agency, Moms in the Kitchen. And I want you to learn how and why the Greenhouse Effect GE got formed. I wasn't just into the James Gang and Rush and Cream and Ginger Baker. I was into something much more technical, much more polished. I was into a noise agency, baby, Moms in the Kitchen. And you just heard the word, you just heard the only review you will ever need of this amazing album. From the guy that lived it. I was 20 years old in 1985. You know me, Clark the Shark. I'm an eclectic brain. I love everything. But there isn't something I love more than a noise agency, Moms in the Kitchen. And you just heard the word. I'm out of here. Peace, my brothers.